Okay, we are live.
Okay.
So, let's see. So neither of you actually knows what happened last week, right?
Correct.
Correct.
That's actually probably for the best because this is technically happening
At the same time.
Yeah, what happened last week is happening at the same time as what you guys are doing today. So speaking of what you guys are doing today, what were you doing? Recap that part of it for me at least.
We were going to see if we could find the kalashtar. And because of one of the locations was Broken Arch, and the other one was down in the lower areas, I guess. We figured
Yeah, one of it was God, I can't remember the other place. I wrote them down, but that doesn't help me any.
In any case, we figured that Lucan's knowledge of the area would probably be useful, especially since he lives in Broken Arch.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. So, you guys are all right. So that being the case, what are you guys going to do first?
So, what are the places that we have to follow up on? There's Broken Arch, and there's
let's see, Broken Arch. Another place was, God, it was down by not Terminus. That's not the right place.
Broken Arch.
Broken Arch which is in the Middle Wards. It's over. Let me show you. That's where Lucan has his apartment, right?
Yep.
I believe another of the spots was down in, I believe it was Center Bridge. Down here.
I think that's what you said, yeah.
And the last place was, I know it wasn't Terminus, but I don't know what was around there. I think it might have been Stone Guard over here.
Okay.
Alright, so what are you guys doing?
Okay. So
first question: do we want to travel as a group?
Yeah, it's just the two of us. So.
And by group you mean the two of you, yes.
Yes.
Like, do we want to stick together or do we want to split up?
Let's stick together.
Okay. Since you've got apartments in Broken Arch,
then let's just down there on the way down.
My thought. I mean, it's already familiar territory for you, so if we're going to run into some trouble, I'd prefer have it be on kind of home turfish.
Yep, sounds good to me.
All right. So Broken Arch is kind of a middle class, maybe middle upper class kind of area. The towers there are a little more expensive than you might expect for the average worker or family. A little nicer, a little roomier, but not so much that it's like a high class kind of area. There's still a fair few blue collar workers here, along with some like lower level white collar people. So it's a relatively cosmopolitan kind of area, just a little more well off.
The kind of place where a king's sword and former guardsman would be probably on the lower end of, or probably around right in the middle actually.
Yeah, about average, I would guess.
Yeah. Okay, so we are looking for exactly what? I know it's kalashtar, but I don't know. I was away for that session, so how many? Any descriptions? What do we got?
There were only a few. Let me see. How many were there? There are 3 kalashtar that you're looking for, and you don't really have a description. You do have some names, but you don't have a lot of description because kalashtar tend to be described in the sense of, oh, they're a kalashtar in that they all kind of look the same to me, sort of way.
Right.
Not dissimilar from hobbits.
It's I mean, people can definitely make them out, because I mean they have hair colors, they have different facial features, but it tends to be because of the way their eyes look. That tends to be what people focus on in terms of the description. They go, oh, these guys have, the solid pink eyes or whatever, and so that's what the descriptions for them tend to focus on.
Okay.
There are also a couple of other people who are non-kalashtar who were missing. So that's also part of your rid, is to investigate them as well. It just
descriptions of them?
Yes.
Okay.
There's names and descriptions for them. It's a little more concrete, but there's still not a lot of information. It sounds like a lot of this was gathered secondhand from neighbors and other people who were nearby, but didn't necessarily interact with them all the time.
Right. Okay.
So in terms of the other ones who aren't kalashtar, the first one is a male gnome called Devandi. I will put it in chat. He's one of the people who's missing, who lives there but hasn't been seen since the night of the attack, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Another is a shifter woman called Hazel. She actually has a last name listed, Hazel Dree. The kalashtar, you're not sure if these are the correct names for these, because they're unusual names, and you know how people can get when they're pronouncing names in a language that's unfamiliar to them. So the names you have are Minharath and Thakakad. I will put those in. You don't know if these are first names or last names, or even if they're names, they might be titles of some sorts. Those two you've been told are presumably male. And there's a woman called Panatari. Again, you have no idea what these names, if they are names, are all about.
Okay, so we've got...
So you have five people. You do have some information about the non-kalashtar.
Mm-hmm.
From what you've been able to gather just from the reports from the Lantern, is that the kalashtar tended to keep to themselves. Yeah. They weren't necessarily standoffish, but they didn't associate with others all that often, and even when they did, it was kind of on a superficial level. They never really got into, what they did, what they were all about, where they were from, that sort of thing.
I'm going to recap real quick just to make sure, because I'm doing the notes tonight.
Okay.
The Devandi is the gnome.
Yes, he's a male gnome.
Hazel was a female human?
Female shifter.
Shifter. Okay, give me 2 seconds. I forgot that I was supposed to be doing this, so I'm having to catch up.
No worries.
And as far as description goes, description and information, I should say. Devandi is a merchant who seems to own a shop. It's not quite clear whether he owns or works at a shop in Cornerstone, which is the tavern district over here.
Okay.
Nobody's quite sure what he did there, or what the shop was all about. He didn't seem to be a particularly wealthy merchant, which to you indicates that it more likely he works at a shop rather than owns it. If he owned it, he probably would live closer to it. Um, Hazeldree was frequently seen in a few places. One was the Adventurers Quarter of Clifftop, which is pork. There we go. And also down in both Terminus and Roan's Gate.
Okay.
Nobody's quite sure what Hazeldree did, but she was never seen unarmed. And not just in terms of, like, I'm living in a potentially dangerous city kind of armed. It was, arms, armor, weapons, that kind of thing.
Okay.
The kalashtar were dressed usually what they were described as being dressed like anybody else in that neighborhood. They weren't dressed too much different than any other Braylander. In Sharn, they were maybe a little more run down, patched up, dirty than some, but not so much that it drew a lot of attention.
Gotcha. All right. So not a lot to go with on the kalashtar, and they tend to kind of blend in as human too, don't they?
To some extent, yeah. They get noticed, but if they try to keep their heads down, literally and figuratively, they often get seen as human or half-elf or elven occasionally, but usually human or half-elf.
Okay. So that's going to be needle in a haystack sort of thing there.
Mm-hmm. You do know that there are. You do know. Actually, give me a roll on this one.
Sure.
Like an information gathering kind of roll, or short
sure.
knowledge. So
King Citadel int or wisdom or.
King Citadel works int. Let's go with int. I think on this one, because this is knowledge.
You got it. 26.
Ooh, wow.
That's a 19. Yeah.
So you know that that unlike gnomes and dwarves and some of the other larger minority groups, the kalashtar don't have a neighborhood of their own, but they do have enclaves here and there, like a single tower here and there, or a few houses or apartments here and there that are all kalashtar or predominantly kalashtar. So there are a few places like that within Sharn. They aren't very big. None of them tends to be more than maybe 100 to 150 people, and that's a bit on the large side. Most of them tend to be smaller,
Okay.
but they're scattered here and there throughout Sharn.
Are there any in Broken Arch?
Yes, there are actually, and in fact, once you make that connection, you realize that there are some of those in all three of the places where they were supposedly seen.
So, in other words, people could just have seen the people who already live there. Okay.
Right. Broken Arch, Centerbridge, and Stone all have relatively sizable kalashtar enclaves.
Okay. Well, we can ask Laird then. So, before we do that, would I know if, say, Hazel, since she seems to be at least somewhat sketchy, if she would be known to police or to the Watch?
Yeah, dude.
It's certainly it's worth. You think it's worth looking into?
Okay.
Do we have? Now I know that the kalashtar we kind of have. Well, they're kalashtar, and that's what people describe them as.
Mm-hmm.
For Devandi and Hazel, do we have any more certain of a description? Like,
yeah, you have general physical descriptions on what they look like.
Did we ever get a character sketch out of him?
No, that much you didn't get. It looks like they started to put stuff like that together, but they didn't have enough concrete information to have a sketch that wouldn't send you after
Every.
half of the gnomes or shifters in Sharn.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have any ideas on where to go in here before we head off to the watch outposts and the kalashtar enclave, or should we just go to those?
Um, I think that we should probably just start there. This
Okay.
is this is a little bit outside my realm of the norm, so I'm kind of relying on you for our.
Okay.
Thing.
How much do you know, like, psychically about kalashtar as a character here?
My understanding is a little bit limited. Kalashtar are. I referred to them earlier as the Dreamers, and that's not quite accurate. It's actually almost completely inaccurate. They don't dream. Um, they have an unusual psychic makeup that is. It's hard to explain, but I don't know, feels different.
Would you be able to
Normally.
feel that if we came close to one outside of the enclaves?
I might be able to tell, but being able to pick out the three that we're looking for out of, like, if I got in a neighborhood that was 20 kalashtar, I'll be able to tell you, oh, hey, there's kalashtar here, but I'm not going to be able to tell you these are the guys.
Fair enough. Okay. Do you want to start with the enclave or with seeing what the watch knows?
Aaron, do we have any indication that these kalashtar or the other two are going to be outright volatile towards us?
You don't really have any information on that one way or the other.
Okay.
What you know about them is that they've lived in those apartments, and
Now
they weren't. Yeah, they weren't there the night of, and they haven't been back since. It doesn't necessarily mean that they haven't been seen since, but they haven't been back to their apartments since.
Okay. Having been back since is a hard call because the place is crawling with us.
Yeah.
That doesn't concern me over. Right now, Lucan, I think that we should just consider this to be we're going to go talk to some people and do it straight up. Let's just go in, walk in, and see if we can't get some pointed in the right direction.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the kalashtar then. The enclave.
Okay. So, since this is your neighborhood, you have a pretty good idea of where this enclave is.
Hooray!
In this case, it looks like they're taking up a large part of a single tower. As far as you know, there are probably maybe 20 or 30 families living here. You're not entirely sure how many exact numbers there are, but that's about what you understand about this place.
Do I know anything about, like, if there's some sort of unofficial head of the group that's here or anything like that who would deal with the watch when they come by?
Give me a roll.
Ints again?
Yeah.
16.
As far as you know, there's no singular head of the community.
Okay.
But then again, you realize that you don't know a lot about their social structure. So there very well could be one, but you don't know of it.
Yeah, nothing that stands out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nothing immediately apparent.
Okay. So they've taken up most of the tower.
Well, they're taking out a big chunk of the tower. Keep in
Oh,
mind, these towers are like the size of skyscrapers.
of
I mean,
course.
maybe not like Empire State Building, but they're still
They're high
very
rise.
large. Yeah, so they're taking up like several floors on a single tower.
Okay. Is there anywhere that seems like an obvious main entrance for
Yes.
the area?
Hmm. Yeah.
Shall we knock on some doors?
In this case, since it's the middle of the day, the doors are open. There's traffic flowing in and out. Um, Not all of them appear to be kalashtar.
Mhm.
There are definitely other people of other races coming in and out too, but the majority do seem to be kalashtar who are going about their day.
Are there any businesses in the tower or anything like that?
Yes. It looks like that the first floor of the enclave is all businesses. The residential is on the higher floors.
Okay. Uh, what would any sort of specific sort of businesses?
It looks like it's like customer service kind of thing. So it looks like there's a grocer, there's a restaurant slash cafe.
Grocer.
Looks like there's a tailor, that sort of thing. It's pretty basic, normal businesses that you might expect to see in or around a lot of other residential areas.
I looking at the grocer. Does it seem to be Kalashar run?
Yes.
Okay.
It's definitely kalashtar run. Most of uh, the patrons are kalashtar, though there are a few others who are looking at some of the produce and stuff like that. Most of the produce, even you can see, is relatively local. There's a
Mhm.
few things that seem a bit more exotic that you can't identify. And that's what it seems like some of the locals are looking at, just kind of in the way that someone might go to a Chinese market and go, wow, that's really weird. They're doing that same kind of thing with whatever this food is. You don't know if it's necessarily from the Kalashtar homeland or if it's just from outside your experience here in Breland, but it's definitely not.
They report it as a prank. Who knows? It's
Yeah, you don't really have any idea.
okay. Regardless, I figure everyone needs groceries. The local grocer is going to know everyone that comes through pretty well. So I say we stop in and talk to the owner.
Okay. So you notice a large Kalastari man behind the counter. He seems very open. He seems very talkative. He's talking to all the customers as they're coming through. As you pass the doorway inside, he actually waves over and greets you and thanks you for coming into his place of business. And then he goes back to talking to like the people in front of him. But he seems very warm and welcoming.
Is he super busy long line?
Not a huge line. It looks like there's a couple people in line looking to buy a couple of things, but for the most part, the customers seem to be either still collecting their stuff or still deciding on what they're going to purchase.
Uh, I'll browse the couple of shelves closest to him and wait for a lull so we can talk.
Okay. So it doesn't take long for him to check out the two customers waiting to pay for their groceries and move on. He sees you and he looks a bit quizzically because you don't seem to have anything in your hands to purchase. It says, "Welcome, gentlemen. What can I do for you?"
Xuan-de, do you want to talk or do you want me to?
Lloyd.
Lloyd?
I'll let you for the moment. In the meantime, I'm not currently in my meditative state, but I can still. Well, let me double check something real quick.
Okay.
Go ahead and carry on talking to him for a moment, and I'll chime in when I need to.
You basically want to monitor emotions, sort of thing, or?
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember if I can have to be in my meditative state to be able to receive, or if I have to be in my meditative state in order to be able to send.
All right, check it out. Okay. So I walk up and introduce myself as Lucan Stellos of the King's Swords, and I reassure him that nothing serious is going on, but we're trying to find a couple of kalashtar that we think might be in the area, who might have seen something and can help us out. Would he be or would he know anyone to talk to about that?
So his expression goes from kind of friendly but quizzical to a bit more guarded as you ask about this, and says, "We don't get many of the King's Citadel in this area. I hope you'll excuse my caution, but what is this matter that you wish to discuss with my countrymen?"
Uh, to be perfectly honest, there was an attack, and these couple that we're trying to find live nearby, but haven't been seen in a couple of days. We're trying to find them to, one, make sure they're okay, and two, let us or see if they know anything about what might have gone down. Unfortunately, without having found them, we're currently running under the assumption that they might have been taken or killed in the attack, and we'd rather prevent that.
You're talking about the attack in Stormhold, aren't you?
That would be the one.
And you say some of our people were nearby, and they may have information for you about this?
So we've been told. We were told a couple, 3 kalashtar lived in the tower, but that they hadn't been home since the attack happened. And please bear in mind, this isn't an accusation of them or anything like that. We are just trying to find information. I honestly don't believe that anyone living in the tower would attack their own tower.
Yes, it would be. From what I've heard of the situation, I can assure you that our people would certainly not have been involved in such a thing.
It doesn't seem like their sort of style. That is for sure.
Perhaps I can point you in the right direction. Did you have a name for these 3? There aren't many kalashtar in Sharn, but there are still more than I particularly know by sight. But perhaps I can send you to somebody who is more knowledgeable if these aren't familiar.
Of course, and thank you very much for any help you can give. One went by the name Minharath. Does that mean anything to you?
I'm afraid that's not a name that I recognize, no.
I still want to say it as Shaka Khan, but Thakakad?
Yeah, I know. I wrote it. I wrote it down, and I didn't recognize how it was going to be pronounced. So yeah. He says, "No, I'm afraid that's not one that I'm familiar with either."
By the way, if there's any way for me to get a reading on whether he's being deceptive in any of this, I would like to give a roll for it. But and Panatari.
Panatari, that is a name I do recognize. She came this way every so often to pick up food and other products from the homeland. It's such a distance that such things are understandably rare, and she would come down here as often as possible to get some taste of home. That being said, I have not seen her for several days. If
you can understand why we're concerned, you see, then.
Yes, I suppose that I can. She was very gentlewoman. She was not inclined to get involved in anything dangerous or risky or untoward. So I certainly can't see her being involved in something like this. However, I don't. As I said, I haven't seen her in a few days, but I do believe I know somebody who might have more information on where she would be.
Excellent. A description would also be helpful. Unfortunately, the neighbors who told us her name weren't able to give a good description.
I suppose I can understand that. Yes, she was a relatively small woman, perhaps 25 years of age, blonde, short hair, a face that was more handsome than beautiful, with a strong jaw. Um, she was not particularly striking in many respects, except for her personality, which she was very friendly and as I said, gentle, and she made friends with others in all walks of life, kalashtar and otherwise. So I dearly hope that nothing has happened to her.
You
But
spoke
Believe
with
me,
Mom?
what I can tell you is that she worked at a place uh, in Daba Gate. She was an assistant to a jeweler. She wasn't a craftsman, but she was a how would I put it? She helped customers the find or choose, I suppose, the the jewelry that best suited them. She had an empathy to her that helped her make customers very happy with their choices.
she sounds like a lovely woman.
She was, but I now I have a great deal of worry for her. I I've only heard rumors about the attack, but what those things I have heard. In any case, that may be your best bet. She may have just, been working for a few days and not taken any time off. I can't. She was very dedicated to her work,
Well,
You said
but I don't really believe that, and nor I think do you. If you're coming here asking about her.
I do hope you're correct, but I also am doubtful. Regardless, please be assured that we will do everything in our power to find her and hopefully bring her home safely.
Mhm. In any case, the name of the shop, I believe, was called Farhammer's Jewelry, run by a dwarf, as you might surmise from the name.
I was kind of guessing.
I know very little about that. Otherwise, she was very open and trusting, but at the same time, I only saw her for a few minutes every couple of weeks, so I'm afraid I can't help you any further than that.
Not to worry, my friend. Uh, what you have told us here may very well be enough.
I certainly hope it is. As for the other two, I I can't say that I know their names.
Can I ask then if you have seen any kalashtar come through that you don't recognize over the past couple of days?
That is the problem with that question, my good sir, is that we are perhaps the finest repository of goods from the homeland, and there are many kalashtar from Sharn and from other places who come here to find something that reminds them of home. And I see kalashtar that I don't recognize on a daily basis.
Fair enough.
There are some that I recognize, but I couldn't name them, as our relationship is on a strictly business level. Someone may come in here and buy fruit from home and not say more than a few words to me, and I choose not to pry into their affairs.
Of
And
course. And why would you?
so, no, it's possible that I have seen the two you look for, but can't put a face to the name.
That is, of course, to be expected. Uh, Not a problem at all. The information that we have now regarding Panetari will hopefully let us find the other two as well.
I certainly hope so. But if you'll please excuse me, I must get back to my customers.
Of
And
course, sir.
you, good sir, you have a very orderly mind, if I might say. I appreciate you not expending your gifts while in my shop. I can tell you that my customers would not appreciate such a thing. And he directs that towards Xuan-de.
I find that it's difficult to mask such attempts, and I didn't think it would be an air of distrust.
Such a thing would immediately have you removed from my shop, yes. Whether it was turned against me or one of my customers. And so I appreciate your discretion in this matter. I understand that you could have done more than you did, but I appreciate that you did not. If there's anything else that I can help you gentlemen with to further this investigation, please let me know.
Incidentally, if you ever want to play cards, I'm down.
He smiles a bit at that and says, it is truly difficult to find one of your kind who does not shout their thoughts at such a game. But so perhaps one of these days I will take you up on that offer.
I bow slightly and walk out, preferably behind Lucan.
I pick up a snack on my way out and toss him a couple coppers for it.
Okay.
Um,
You picked up a what looks to be some sort of jerky, but from the taste is very different than you might expect.
roll to see if you like it. Roll to see if you like it.
Okay, yeah, roll to see how much you like it.
What would that be?
Just
Constitution?
roll me a flat d20.
Okay. Eight.
It's not the best thing you ever had. It's maybe because you didn't get to it while it was relatively fresh, but it tastes a little gamey. It's still not horrible, and you might try it again, or at least find a better place for it.
Hey, Lucan, can I have a taste?
Of course.
You can also roll a d20 to see if you like it.
Bounce.
You like it a little bit more.
Okay.
Is there a button on these sheets to just roll like a save?
No, there's not. In that case, I usually recommend you either make a macro or just use the dice roller.
Yeah, I just didn't realize there wasn't one, so I hadn't made a macro for it.
Yeah, no, there's not a straight d20. In part because you can do it through the interface relatively easy. Given how much is on that sheet already, it seemed a bit hard to justify.
Oh, for sure.
Because it's pretty packed as it is.
As we leave, I look over at Xuan-de. Okay, so we've got a couple of options. My two favorites at the moment. Well, real quick, Aaron, which place do we know we could where the kalashtar congregate is nearest the tower that got hit?
It's actually probably this one. No, that's it's kind of difficult to say. Um, it's either this one or Center Bridge. They're both maybe about the same distance.
Okay. So Lucan,
Stone Guard is definitely the farthest, though.
we could hit Center Bridge. I think that that would probably bear some good fruit. I also think that going to see this Barhammer's jewelry would be a good idea. I'm not sure which one I prefer. Do you have?
I would say let's follow up with Farhammer's right now because we actually have a legitimate lead for that one, whereas the rest of these are pretty much hearsay trying to follow up on. Some people might have seen a kalashtar.
Yeah. All right, I'm down.
And where was Farhammer's? That was in something gate?
Farhammer's was in Dava Gate, which is over here.
Oh, okay.
Dava Gate. Okay.
Yeah, it's nearby anyways then.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that there are walkways across the
Yes.
ravine.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about Sharn, think that there's skyways and walkways everywhere between different towers, between different districts.
Yeah.
The
wall around the center tower, the center districts, just kind of made me question it for a minute.
Yeah. You don't really walk on the ground proper a lot of places in Sharn. Certainly not in the certainly not in the middle wards. But yeah, think of it just skyways all over the place.
Yeah, I wouldn't really expect to be walking on the ground until we're in the cogs.
Yeah. Actually, you probably walk on the ground more than a few places in the lower wards.
Oh,
but
fair enough, because there's all the gates.
Yeah. But yeah, it's in this case, yeah, you're walking through skyways and aerial walkways. There's also flying, like basically like taxis. They're carriages, but they're magical based. Those are considerably more expensive, so they tend to be left to people who need either privacy or speed, or who have a lot of money, or all three.
Gotcha. Quick question, and if you know here, most of the things that are whatever gate are actually legit gates, it seems, on the ground for people to come in and out by. Would Davagate be an airship gate, or do you know?
I don't think so in this particular case.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of right smack dab in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, but it also looks like there could be a path around there for like traffic to come in and out of. So
I mean, it probably has a lot of landing areas for people who are flying around in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
But not airship. Airships would probably be docking higher.
The upper wards, right?
Very likely the upper wards. Yeah.
Fair enough. Alright. In any case, yeah, let's head on there.
Okay. So it takes you a little while to walk your way over to Dava Gates. One of the downsides of this sort of architecture is that you have to walk through a lot of towers, a lot of circuitous walkways and that sort of thing. So it takes you a little bit long. It takes you a while to get pretty much anywhere in Sharn unless you're in the same district.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get to Davagate, it's a few questions here and there. It pretty much immediately gets you the address or the location of Farhammer's jewelry, which is in a tower that looks like it's largely craftsmen. In this particular case, it looks like they're all metal workers, though it looks like there's a lot of specialization among the ones here, but they share like a heat source for their forges and that sort of thing. And so they've congregated in a relatively central location.
Hey, Lucan. Well, while we're walking, I want to have this little conversation. Hey, Lucan.
Yes, Xuan-de.
We asked the last guy mostly about the kalashtar. Do we want to ask the dwarf about the other two as well?
For sure. The kalashtar brochure, though, probably didn't, is unlikely to know much about them. The dwarf could possibly.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we have. I assume it goes without saying that we're keeping an eye out for the three now that we have actual descriptions for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I do want to stop by a watch location at some point to see if there's anything about this Hazel, especially, but also Devandi, of course. But Devandi, who was in Cornerstone, that was his shop, right?
Yes.
Okay. But yes,
Right.
of course. Given that we're talking to a jewelry merchant, Devandi might actually be someone he knows from the business. Who knows?
It could be. There are a lot of people, but it wouldn't. It doesn't hurt to ask at the very least. Even if he says no, then you haven't lost anything by doing so.
Yep.
In addition, more than a little bit curious about a person that walks so well armed and nobody quite has any idea what she does. That
Yeah.
To be fair, in different parts of Sharn, that's entirely normal. Especially down in Rome's Gate and Terminus,
Mm-hmm.
where a lot of travelers are coming in and out from outside of Sharn. Then it's more common. In the center of the city, not as much. A lot of people do go armed, but it's like a dagger or a rapier or something at least somewhat decorative, and very few wear armor unless they're actually a guard or otherwise in the business of getting hit.
Me. Yeah, no, my assumption is that is either smuggler or some sort of adventurer or caravan guard, perhaps.
See, whereas I'm thinking a little bit more along the lines of thief, assassin, or thug, depending on.
She seems a little heavily armed for a simple thief, but it could be.
No. Yeah, thief may not fit the bill. Depends on what her armaments are. But anyway.
Thug is easily possible, though.
Enforcer for the mob.
Yeah.
Oh dear gods! If she has ties to the to one of the dragon houses, that's going to cause us a shit.
Right now, you don't have enough information one way or
Of
the other.
course.
Still,
We'll see.
Yeah,
As we
right
see.
now, anything could be true because you don't have enough information to refute any of it.
Or
So.
maybe everything is true.
Stop that, you.
What?
Alright, so we arrive
Show
at
the door.
Yes, Farhammer's jewelry is on the second floor of this area, and it's looks like it's the door isn't open, but you see a small wooden sign hanging outside the door that says, "Please come in." The door itself is, as you might expect for a jeweler, heavily reinforced. It's at least as much metal as it is wood, and from what you can tell from the way it kind of protrudes from the door jamb, it's probably twice as thick as any normal door on top of it.
Impressive. Well,
And from what you can tell, there are multiple locks on this door.
all right then. Well, I know it's not actually an issue with me, but the fact that I've been invited just puts Lucan more at ease. And as we enter,
I want to take a real quick, stupid thing check. I want to assess the door real quick to see how long it would take a four-man team with basic siege equipment breaking and entering to get past this door.
All right. Roll
because
me a
that's the
skill
kind of
check.
shit that I would appreciate.
All right, Siege Master plus int. And yes, you did.
Siege Master.
You don't really have enough information, you think, to make a really good guess at this, because in other circumstances you would just avoid the door and go through the walls themselves. Because in this case, it looks like the walls might actually be less of an obstacle than the door itself. But you haven't also seen the inside, so you don't have information to make an educated guess.
Sure. I
So
do have.
it's one of those things that's going to bother you at night. Going, you just need to know somehow.
Until he eventually lays siege to the tower.
Yeah,
Finds
you might have to go home and like write out some math. Going, all right, well, if it's like this, then I would need this.
I do, however, let out a low whistle as we approach the door and mutter over to Lucan, now that's fun.
All right, then.
So, Lucan, when you step through the doorway, you feel kind of a tingle across your body, and the crystal in your chest warms up briefly, which is, to say the least, a really disconcerting sensation. But as soon as you step past the threshold, the feeling goes away, and you feel otherwise normal.
Right. Okay.
So there's a bell hanging over the door that rings as you enter. And just a moment after you step inside, before you even had a chance to really look around at the room you're in, a dwarf it's actually a surprisingly classy smithing outfit comes in. It looks like he's got some sort of fireproof apron on that is completely immaculate. He's not wearing a shirt under it, but at the same time, he doesn't seem sweaty and dirty. His beard is neatly braided, and it looks like he has like some sort of monocle on one eye. You're not sure what that is, but he steps into the room from what seems to be some sort of area in the back, and looks over at you and says, "Welcome, gentlemen, to Farhammer's Jewelers. What can I get you this fine day?"
Today, right now, we actually come wanting to talk to you about somebody that we were told works here.
We were hoping to find Miss Panettiere.
Panettiere? That damn girl. Do you know where she's at? She hasn't been here for work in days now, and I'm getting a bit upset about it. Did she get in trouble somewhere? Who are you with?
Well, that's actually exactly what we're trying to find out. You see, I flashed my King's Sword ID. We're with the King's Citadel, and there was an attack near her home, and she hasn't been seen for a couple of days. We're hoping to find her safe and sound, but we were hoping you might have an idea of where she might be.
Well, I heard of the attack. I didn't realize it was so close to where she lived. I guess it makes a little sense why I haven't seen her in a while. Well, I don't know how much I know that'll be a help to you, but let's see. Aside from that, she had a brother, I think, who lived. God, where did that kid live again? He was down in Old Keep. Was it Old Keep? Yeah, it was Old Keep. I remember that. Yeah, it was Old Keep down by the warehouses. Kid was always in here asking his sister for a loan, asking for money. Just so... I don't know why she put up with him. I mean, the kid was adopted, but at the same time, there's only so far you can go with a deadbeat like that. You know what I'm talking about?
I definitely do, but there are things you do for family, aren't there?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
say with no hint of irony.
yeah. You're right. But at the same time, I wish she would, smack him on the head every once in a while and tell him to get his act together. But
Mhm.
uh, so she might be there, I guess, if there was an attack. Let's see. There's a place she really liked to go eat at over in Denvius, the gnome area. I don't like gnome food myself. You understand, a little too much spice for my taste. But she went there. Not every day, but at least once a week. Maybe they've seen her there. I guess I asked around a couple of days ago, and they hadn't heard anything. But that was a couple of days ago.
You said in the Gnome District of...
Denovis.
Denvius. Oh no, you're right. It is Denvis.
I was just looking straight at it. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm zoomed out a little bit, so the font
Yeah.
sometimes blends a little too much.
No worries.
So yeah, that's about the only places I can think to send you guys. It's yeah, she didn't talk too much about her personal life otherwise, but
If I could ask some questions still, did she ever have any friends stop by to visit with her or to
no,
pick her up or anything?
no, I
Or do
didn't
you
let
know if
her
you had
have.
boyfriends?
She didn't really talk about that sort of thing. As for friends and stuff, I didn't like having people over becoming friendly, conversation sort of thing. I don't like that because it distracts from helping the customers.
Of course.
And when somebody's looking to drop, a few hundred gold at a setting, to have all your focus on them, you know what I'm saying? So she never really did it anyway, but it's a standing rule for everybody here that, meet your friends elsewhere. Don't, even if it's on lunch break, just meet them elsewhere. Don't bring them here. Um, Not to mention the skeevy friends who come here and try to pocket something on the way out just because their friend works here. Never again after that.
Of
But
course. I just had to ask. You never know when someone will drop by to drop off something for the person.
Yeah, no, I told her that if she's ever going to do that, have them meet him on her lunch break, probably up in Trade Fair. I mean, I don't know exactly where she went up there, but that's the closest place that you can get some food. So that's, I guess, where she might have gone to meet people for that. But it's not like the place in Denovis. She talked about that place all the time.
Understood. And do you happen to remember the brother's name?
Brother's name, let me see. It was, God, what the hell is it? Not, no, that wasn't it. It was, Vescar. That's right. Yeah, that is it. I don't know what the kid's last name is. I don't know if star families have a last name. They're a bit weird, I guess. But Vescar was the kid's name. I always called him Ves. That much I remember. But every once in a while, she'd get ticked off at him and call him Vescar. I don't know, maybe, but
Was he known? You keep on referring to him as a kid. How old would you say he was?
well, I don't know for sure. No offense, but you humans are kind of hard to peg
None
on
taken.
that sort of thing. You don't grow a beard like a proper people, but
Come on, give me a little bit of credit.
I guess he was a few.
No, your beard's not proper. Don't no.
I guess he was a few years younger than her. What's the coming of age for you guys? It's like
16,
16
18.
or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess somewhere in there.
Roughly the same time you guys pick up a hammer.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, he didn't look much older than that, I guess. He looked like he was starting to grow something vaguely resembling a beard. It was all patchy, and his face had all the acne. You know how that goes. So
Sounds like a good estimate to me then.
yeah, but I mean, even more than that, he just acted like a kid. Um, you humans tend to be a little hasty and aggressive anyway, but this kid was just more than most, and I don't see that too much from you guys as you get older, or at least not as much anyway. So yeah, that's all I know about him. He I don't know. He seemed sketchy to me, which is why I told her to stop letting him come by. He he had that look. If you've ever seen a thief go through a place and just look around and evaluate how much everything is worth,
Case in the joint.
he had
Yeah.
that kind of look to him. Everything he looked at was, how many gold is this worth?
I own my own shop up in the upper wards, and believe me, I'm aware.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about then. This kid had that look to him. He never took anything that I can tell. Probably because there would be a race to see who could beat the shit out of him faster, his sister or me. But he always had that look, that shifty eye look. So I don't know what he was into, but he was always up here begging for money. So I don't know. I think he's on the shady side of things.
Understood, sir. And do you mind if we ask you if you recognize a couple of names?
Yeah, I guess.
There's a gnomish merchant named Devandi.
Bandy.
He works in or owns a shop out in Cornerstone, apparently.
In Cornerstone? No, I don't do a lot of business with folks over in Cornerstone.
Okay. A shifter, we believe mercenary by the name of Hazel Dree.
Hazel Dree. Shifter, you say?
Yes.
Do you have more of a description on that?
I'd give him the rough description we have.
Seems kind of familiar.
Seems to do a lot of work down in the caravan districts. You might have seen her around while picking up shipments.
Yeah, it's knew a woman named Hazel. I didn't know she was a shifter, but one of my suppliers works with her. She's a guard. She works the route between here and Rope mostly, but occasionally goes a bit farther afield.
Okay.
I didn't actually know she lived here in Sharn.
We aren't actually sure that she does, but she seems to at least have a bit of a residence here. She might have another home somewhere else as well.
Yeah, but my suppliers trust her on the shipments. So, and if when you're carrying tons of gold and jewels and stuff like that around, they don't trust easy. But
Yeah,
they trust
you
her
need
enough.
trust.
So yeah, why do you ask about her?
She seems to have a residence nearby as well. She's just one of the people we're trying to find out more about what's going on or what happened in the attack.
Well, tell you what. There's a place down in Rowan's Gate called the Comeback Inn. That's where I know I met a lot of my suppliers, and they might be able to tell you a little more down there.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you very much. And just another couple of names. Both of these would be Kalashtar men, Minharath and Thakakad.
No, I ain't heard none of those names before.
Okay. Not a problem at all. We were hoping that they might have been friends of Panatari, but...
No, I mean, she didn't... I mean, I know she wasn't human, but I don't know what she was. But I never saw anybody else like her around.
Gotcha. Not a problem. For reference, she was a Kalashtar.
Kalashtar. I heard the name, but I didn't know they looked like that.
They're they're kind of an offshoot of humanity.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
Foreign lands, but
A
they do look a lot like us.
Yeah, well, yeah. Sorry that I couldn't help you anymore, but if you
Not a
don't have
problem.
anything else, I need to get back to work a little bit.
Of course, you've given us plenty to go on.
just a couple of real quick questions from me on a personal level, man.
Who did your door?
First question: who made that door?
Who made that door? Oh, a friend of mine from way back in the day. Had that door for years. Taking it with me when I moved.
It looks like four men could take hours beating away at it and never get anywhere.
Might take a little more than hours. I can promise you that.
Wow, that's
The magnificence of dwarven
impressive.
It cost me a pretty penny. I'm not gonna lie to you, but the craftsmanship was top notch. It was I hate to admit it, but it wasn't dwarf work. Well, not completely anyway. A friend of mine did the design, but Cannith actually did the crafting.
Cannith?
Yeah, Cannith did. I mean, if you got a design for something, you can take it there, and if it's interesting, they'll do it for you. They'll cost you a pretty penny sometimes, but they'll do it.
They're the house of making for a reason. Is it warded in some way?
Oh, this whole place is warded to hell and back again. Why do you ask?
Oh, just a slight sense of magic as I came in. I was just curious.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be cautious in this line of work. I mean, when a wizard can come through and just teleport in or spy on you from outside or just help melt the stone, you have to take a lot of precautions. So, yeah, I hired a guildsman to do as many magical wards as they could fit on these walls and on that door. So, ain't nothing getting in here without my permission, and nothing looking in here without my permission. Anything comes there with any kind of hostile intent, they're not getting in. Or if they do get in, they're going to regret it pretty quick.
My shop has a couple of similar things, but the nature of my shop also doing a lot of that stuff. So,
What do you sell, Mr.
Xuan-de.
Xuan-de? So you say you have a shop in the upper wards, huh? What do you deal in?
Mostly specialty animals. Most of them are magic in one variety or another, but a lot of it is also kind of. I don't really want to call them fashion accessories because I love them too much, but that's a lot of my clientele use them as such.
I see. Yeah,
I've actually got one that I had a while back that I think that you might have appreciated. It was a snake that you could speak a couple of words and it would change size or color, would be as still as any piece of jewelry, so you could actually wear it for an entire party and no one would ever know that it was actually alive.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's cutting in a bit to my line of work, I guess, but an interesting thing nonetheless. But yeah, I could afford having a shop in the upper wards, but it's just the rent's too expensive.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how much you pay a month, but even this place is a bit
Trust me,
pricey.
it's too much.
I have a military pension to be able to fall back on that helps me with that. And
Served during the war. That explains a lot.
Well, who didn't?
kind of cut me a deal because I have that military background. So.
Well, I mean, a lot of people served in the war, but not everybody served up front in the war, if you know what I mean.
Of course.
Me, myself, I didn't serve in the same way, but not for this war anyway. But
Understood.
Anyway, I'm taking up enough of your time, gentlemen. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you find my wayward assistant and bring her back to me. Don't tell her I said this, but she was a hell of a saleswoman, and there's more than a few pieces that I wouldn't have sold without her on the front line. So bring her back to me if you can, okay?
Your secret's safe with us, sir.
We'll do what we can.
Good luck, and if you ever need anything, come on down. I'll see what I can do for a fellow veteran.
Certainly. And if I ever have anybody that's looking for a particular piece,
Okay. So we have Denivis, which might actually be a decent lead to, given that it's the gnome district, it might actually be a decent lead to the merchant, but who knows? We have, where was the other? Right, the brother who lives down in, where was it?
I've got it written here.
Old Keep? Yeah, Old Keep.
Yeah, Old Keep.
Old Keep, however, is a massive district.
Yeah, Old Keep. Well, he did say that it's down by the warehouse.
Yeah.
So
there might be a few of those, but yeah.
Yeah.
Old Peak or Old Keep?
Old
Keep. Up and left.
Up here.
Yeah, okay. I got that wrong in my notes. Let me change. It's a shorter walk to get to Denivis.
Yep.
So I would say start there.
Let's check it out.
I mean,
no, I'm with you on that.
Also,
I think you cut out.
Yeah, you did slightly.
the lower we go on these wards, the more nervous I get. So.
Yeah. Well, let's see what we can find in the middle wards before we go down then.
Okay, so you're going to go to Denivis?
Denivis.
All right. So the place you're looking for in Denivis is called Kaitana's Cafe.
Can
Okay.
we get a spell for that one?
Oh, sorry. I entered it in and then forgot to hit enter. And it doesn't take a lot of asking around to find this place. It seems fairly popular, not huge, but it's in a prime location, which is to say that it's actually on the outside of a tower, and they have a terrace with some outside seating, which means that they're, despite the size, it's pretty busy.
Okay. Are there any servers looking particularly bored?
No, the servers look pretty. They look like they're working at a pretty steady pace.
Anybody look like a manager around, just overseeing things?
There's somebody behind, like a coffee bar kind of thing going, and they look like they're directing traffic, so to speak.
What time is it? Is it during one of the major meal periods?
It's between at this point. So you guys started there, went over there, asked around, went over there. It's probably around between 2:30 and 3 in the afternoon, if you had to make a guess. So it's this place isn't packed, but it's still pretty busy considering the time of day.
Okay. Let's swing by the coffee bar and chat up the bartender.
Sounds good to me. I could actually do with a cup of Joe.
There we go. So who are we looking at?
All right, so this is an elven woman. She looks somewhat aged, which means that for an elf, she's really goddamn old. She's got hair. She's got gray hair and wisps around her temples. She's got some wrinkles around the eyes. All the classic signs of aging. She has a pair of glasses on. But she otherwise looks fairly cheerful and energetic. And she smiles at you too when you sit down and says, "What can I get you to this afternoon?"
I order a fairly basic coffee with just a couple of mixes in it, but nothing extravagant.
We have a special today on some Xuan-de cream and a little bit of brandy, if that suits your tastes.
Sounds good to me. I've always been a fan of Xuan-de.
They're stuck-up pricks, but they're stuck-up pricks who really know how to make some good food. So
they have a beautiful country. As stuck-up as they might be, it's nice to go sightseeing.
Yeah, I haven't been there in a long time. The war and all, so.
Of course.
But maybe I'll make some time soon. But yeah, sure. Let me get you guys your coffees. Any pastries or sandwiches you'd like with your drinks?
Actually, we were wondering if you'd seen a woman, a kalashtar woman, come by lately. A woman, her name Panatari.
Panatari? No, actually, now that you think of it, I haven't seen her in a few days.
Ooh, that's too bad.
She normally comes by pretty often. She has such fantastic taste in coffee. It's so nice talking to her. So many people in this place, they're like, well, just give me whatever. I don't really care. But that girl, she knew her coffee, her tea, the whole 9 yards. She was a savant when it came to those sort of things. I wanted to hire her, but she was just attached to that job that she's already got. So what can you do?
Do you know if she ever came in with anyone?
Came in with anyone? She came in with her brother. Well, I guess he's his brother. She always called him her brother, even though the kid was a human. That was about it, really. She usually came here by herself. Had a coffee on her lunch break. Had a sandwich and got back to work. Every once in a while she'd come over for dinner, but not too often. But yeah, she was usually here by herself. Occasionally, there'd be another kalashtar or two with her. Never caught their names. They weren't quite as open or friendly as Panatari was. I'm sorry to say.
Well, I apologize for all the questions. You should know we're just looking into an incident. She has been missing for a couple of days from around her home as well. So we're just trying to find her, hopefully safe and sound. But if there's any information that you can think of that might point us to her, please, we'd like to find her.
Well, I know her home's over in Stormhold. I don't know exactly where. I'm sorry about that. But
no problem.
I know it's over in Stormhold somewhere. And oh damn. Who did you say you're with?
King's Swords, ma'am?
You're here about that incident last week, aren't you?
That we are.
And you're asking about Panatari.
Now, just to head off where you're probably thinking, we aren't trying to find her as if she's a criminal for this or anything like that, but she lives in the same building that was attacked and hasn't been seen in a couple of days. We're hoping that we'll find her safe and sound and that she didn't actually get into any trouble with this, but we're just trying to figure out what happened and following down all the leads we can.
Well, let me...
It could just be that she ran scared to someone.
Let me get you your drinks. Let me think about it a little bit. Maybe a little more will percolate up to the top of my head, and I can give you some other information.
Of course. By the way, was the brother's name Vess?
Vess sounds right. I'm not sure I ever caught his full name, but she called him Vess.
All right.
So she takes a few minutes to go make your drinks and after that comes and sets them down in front of you. She gets Xuan-de, the biscotti or something resembling it. Um, since it's more in the gnome style, which means it's softer and it's completely covered in like a chocolate. But it's otherwise
That
it's
just
not too
sounds
bad.
better.
Yeah. Um, the drinks are fantastic. Um,
Excellent.
you may not be connoisseurs of coffee, but this stuff is. You could sit here all day and drink this sort of thing. You can see why, even at this time of day, people are in here uh, having a drink.
I have drank field coffee before, so I know what shit tastes like. Um, I
In that case, you were actually drinking shit. It wasn't. There wasn't coffee involved. There might have been coffee near it at some points.
One of the mages claimed that he had cast a purify water spell, but didn't.
I my eyes go slightly wide at the first taste of the coffee.
It's good. It's the coffee itself is really good, but even beyond that, the brandy, the brandy complements the coffee perfectly. And she sits as you guys are kind of astonished at the quality of the drink. She smirks a little bit, and then her face gets serious again. Says, "I thought about it for a little bit, and I think I might know a couple of the names. I didn't get them directly, but when she was talking, she referred to a couple of the other kalashtar as God. What was it? It was Min something. It was a long name. Menhar.
Minharath.
Minharath. Yes, that's it. All right. Oh, I see you're familiar with
He
the
lives in the
name.
same building, also missing.
And the other one had a name that you'd think I'd be able to remember, but it was so outlandish that it just made you want to laugh instead of fixing it in your memory. No, I know it started with a T.
That's probably Shaka Khan.
Thakakad. Yes, that was it. What an utter. I'm sorry. I shouldn't judge other cultures for such a thing, but it was such an utterly ridiculous thing that I'm surprised I didn't remember it, honestly.
It's not a problem, ma'am.
But if you say they lived in the same building, I suppose it would be natural that they might have dinner together at some point. I can't recall what they were talking about. It seemed to be a normal conversation to me. Nobody was upset or agitated at any of these meals. So I don't know any more than that. As for
No,
her brother was if her brother was coming here by himself, I would have turned him away at the door.
we've heard similar sentiments about him.
He was dirty. He smelled. He constantly was looking around like at the other patrons, looking for like he was looking for their coin purse. You know, his eyes never stopped moving except when it was on something kind of expensive. So yeah, I know he was her brother and all, but uh, yeah. But anyway, I don't know how much more I can tell you. I mean,
Do
she was a loyal customer. She talked a lot, but she didn't really say a lot about herself. You know,
mhm,
it was all superficial stuff. Which, I mean, most people here they're okay with that. But
of course. Can I just ask if she ever would have talked to or met with a gnome man while she was here? Name of find it again. Devandi?
Defandi, no, I can't say that that's a familiar name at all.
Okay, not a problem. Just one more name on our list.
I understand.
And to quell any fears, I wouldn't have expected their dinner to be some sort of uproarious argument. It's entirely likely that since they live nearby each other, they just became friends through shared culture. So don't worry about not feeling like you're helping. Everything you're telling us is a great help, I assure you.
I certainly hope so.
Just curious, do you know if there was anywhere else that she might have frequented? I mean, the cuisine here is a little bit unique. Did she show any predilection for anything else gnome or specific?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess she might have eaten at some of the other restaurants around here, but I mean, as you can tell, we're kind of a gnome fusion restaurant. I mean, we're not strictly gnome cuisine, you know. The coffee certainly isn't gnomish. Otherwise, it would be a lot more bitter with a lot more alcohol. Which I mean, some people like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we don't strictly do gnome drinks or gnome cuisine, so maybe that's what she liked about this place.
Well, I'll take the coffee exactly as it is, and
Well,
I
I'm glad
assure
you
you I'll
like
be
it.
back to war at some point.
I certainly hope to see you again soon. In
Hopefully,
the
for
meantime,
better circumstances.
I wish you the best of luck in your investigation, and I hope she turns up safe and sound. Because I've heard some really bad rumors about what happened over at
As
that tower.
as
Yeah,
far as the rumors go, you should treat them exactly as that, rumors.
I
If you're hearing anyone give you a lot of solid information on what happened, they're probably assuming a lot of it.
Okay. Hold on just a second. I got a phone call.
Yep.
food time, by the way.
Yep.
Um, I think it might be a good idea before we leave this area to
Mm-hmm.
poke around, see if we can't find any of the other shops. If Devandi was going to be doing a lot of business, especially this might be would come just for homogeneity sake.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. I mean, she clearly doesn't know who he is, but that said, his shop is over here at Cornerstone, so who knows just how much time he spent in the area. Um, the shop's over in Cornerstone. He lives in Stormhold. That's completely across town.
wait, hold on. You said that his shop was where?
Cornerstone. Right there.
I didn't see where you pinged.
Oh. Can you see it there? It's just to the right and up
yeah, I see
from
it.
us. Yeah. Whereas he lived over in Stormhold, which is on the west side of that same map.
Okay. So.
So
Yeah.
he probably went to work through the center pillar and over.
That's what I'd expect.
So yeah, he might not have spent a lot of time in the Gnome District here, despite it being a Gnome District. But who knows? We can ask around a little bit, even just as a side of we ask around really quick at like a couple of shops. Besides that, though,
Do we know what he was a merchant of? Like, was he a specialty or anything, or was it just general?
no, I don't think so. We have like the name of the shop, I think, but I don't think we actually know what it is. So yeah,
Because
we
that
can
might,
swing by there as well.
because if he isn't depending on what his shop is,
Hmm.
I mean, if he's looking for clothes or something or particular wares, gnomes are kind of a niche market. So
Hmm. Fair enough. He could deal in like half-sized clothing,
let them hear you say that, and might get into trouble.
and that's why this isn't in character.
Right?
Hmm. So besides that, though, we have finding the brother in Old Keep. We have finding the merchants in sorry the oh right the merchant caravans in Rowan's Gate to find a lead on the shifter, and we have the other couple of places that we were told about, Center Bridge and Stoneguard, was it? For the other places where Kalashtar had been seen.
I think so.
Alright, sorry about that.
No worries.
Alright, so what do you guys decide you want to do?
So first off, before we leave this district, we're just gonna ask quick around and see if anybody knows the name of the Devandi, the gnome. See if he's known at the shops or anything like that.
Alright,
But
well, I want
just
both of you to make gather information style checks then.
okay.
Plus wisdom or charisma, however you want to do it.
Same stat for me, so 18.
Okay.
And what do you think? Counter intel, or should this be sightless eye?
Counter intel.
All right.
Yeah, definitely seems more likely.
Yeah, same stat for me too. So
Ooh, 26.
So you ask around, and the name comes up a few times. There are a few people by that name. It's not an uncommon gnome name, but when you put it together with the fact that he worked in Cornerstone and lived in Stormhold, you pick up a bit of information about him. It looks like he worked in a butcher shop.
Okay.
He did not own it, but he did work there and was one of the more senior employees there. And he was known for being a bit of a spendthrift and a grump.
Right. Okay. Okay. Do you want to actually go to that butcher shop, or do we want to just head on to the other leads we have?
let's chase our Penatari lead one step further, and that'll also kind of put us in the neighborhood to see about Hazel.
Okay. Yeah, my assumption is that by following up on Panatari, we're actually following up on all three Kalashtar, so I think that's a better option too.
I kind of get the feeling.
Alright, so you're going to go to where?
So just as a question then: would it be much faster to go straight to Old Keep than it would be to swing through Roan's Gate first?
Given where you're at,
It seems like we kind of have to go around regardless, but I don't know.
it'd probably be faster to go straight to Old Keep than it would be to go to Roan's Gate. It'd be faster to go to Roan's Gate directly than it would be to go to Old Keep, but...
Yeah. Do you want to stop in Roan's Gate first, or should we go straight to Old Keep, you think?
Well...
Or do we want to go straight down to Center Bridge first, because that's right below us? Well, let's do that. Let's do Center Bridge first, and then decide after that.
Let's go to Roan's Gate after that, because it's starting to head towards afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty much smack dab in the middle of afternoon at this point.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's starting to head towards evening, and if we're going to catch the merchants or the caravans, I want to do it before actual nightfall hits. Whereas if we catch up with Vess at nightfall, I think that we might be able to influence his mood a little bit more accurately and a little bit more ably.
Okay. I'll tell you what then, let's just go straight for Roan's Gate, because the Center Bridge Stone Guard right now are still just kind of, there's kalashtar around, whereas this is an actual lead to follow up on. I think that Center Bridge Stone Guard is, like, they'll be fine in the evening as well, because people will actually be more at home.
Yeah.
Alright. Unless are we thinking it won't take long in Center Bridge, we can do that. Yeah, we can probably do that fairly quick, can't we?
Probably, yeah.
Okay. Alright, screw it. Center Bridge first, Roan's Gate, Stone Guard, Old Keep, probably in that order.
Okay.
Sure.
So, Center Bridge, we find the Kalashtar Enclave.
Alright. This is maybe the biggest kalashtar enclave within Sharn, as far as you're aware. It's bigger than the one in Broken Arch or any of the other ones that you're aware of. You don't know, you don't know exactly how many families are living here, but the fact that they're spread out across multiple floors on multiple towers says a fair amount. It does seem more integrated than Broken Arch did. That looks like there are a lot more other races living intermixed, but the majority of these towers seem to be kalashtar. Even if it's a slim majority, it's still a majority.
Okay, similar idea then. Either a grocer or a cafe or something along those lines to stop at and see if they recognize the name or description of one of our kalashtar people.
Okay.
Specifically Panatari, because we have that description already.
So you go and ask around a bit, and when you give none of the individuals you talk to recognize the names. They do recognize Panatari's description.
Mm-hmm.
And what you generally get is that she would come down there for meals every once in a while. But she never really stayed for long. She didn't seem to have any connections over there.
Okay.
It was more that she was passing through, or that it was convenient, is the sense that you get from what they're telling you.
And we don't really get anything from the other two names either, then?
No, not at all.
Okay. Okay. Do we want to ask? Well, we'll ask the other about the shifter and gnome as well, I guess. But I don't really expect much.
I'm sorry, what was that one more time?
While we're doing that, we'll ask about the shifter and gnome as well, but I don't expect to hear much from that.
No, you don't get any relief from that.
Yeah. Okay. On to Roan's Gate. It seems like this Panetari made her way around the city a bit.
None, not especially. I mean, she seems to be fairly centrally located. Remember, Roan's Gate is not where Panetari was known at.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, she lives in Stormhold, works in Davin Gate, but she's gone all the way down to the lower wards for various things. And I don't know. She seems to make her way around the enclaves.
All right. I think we're going to. This seems like a good place to stop without going into the next scene too much.
Sure.
So, yeah, this is happening concurrently with what's happening in the other half, so to speak, and it's been interesting that none of you guys has any idea what the other has done. If I could, I would keep this up indefinitely.
But that's just impractical.
I know, it's incredibly impractical, but it would be awesome. It really would. And then when you finally all get back together, you all have to go, well, what'd you guys learn? Well, we learned this. What'd you guys learn? That would be fantastic. If I could do that, it would be great. There's been times where I've wanted to run separate campaigns and have them intertwined like that. But the logistics of that is a giant pain in the ass, so I don't.
I've seen it done, and it always explodes.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't actually explode, it always ends up being like, well, 3 days have passed. What do you mean? 5 months have passed in our game.
Yeah. It's hard to reconcile that sort of thing. Even making this work has been... It's a bit lucky, and only because Justin took chord with one of the groups, because he didn't necessarily need to go with any of you guys.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of metagaming, but in a way that works. But yeah, I wish I could keep this thread going separate like that. It would be fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, but nevertheless, first you guys get an incremental advance.
Ooh.
Awesome.
The others got one last week, so it's your turn.
Increments.
Figure
out what that is later.
And as far as scheduling, we should all be back, I believe, on the 10th of August.
No, we already have one incremental, right?
I believe you have one incremental, yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. I took power. Okay. 10th of August?
Yeah, the 10th of August should be the next one. I might send out some emails to make sure that everybody can make it, because I know last week when we talked, there were some stuff going on, so we'll see how that works. It may be that this thread continues separate for the next couple sessions, but we'll see.
Yeah, whatever.
But let's see. Well, first let's stop the broadcast. So everybody say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Viewer.
Bye, viewers.